And right now I'm very happy to welcome back to our program journalist and filmmaker Kim Ives, who's an editor with the weekly newspaper Haiti Liberté. Kim, thank you for joining us. As always, appreciate you making time. Thanks.
Glad to be with you, Scott.
And as we call on you this evening, there's grave news from Haiti where there is upheaval in that nation, where major protests continue demanding the removal or resignation of Jovenel Moïse, who's the president, accused of gross corruption there, Kim. But before we get there, tell our listeners briefly about the weekly newspaper you are an editor with, and that's Haiti Liberté.
Well, Haiti Liberté is Haiti's largest weekly. It is about to have its 12th anniversary this coming month of July, and is sort of was spawned by Haiti Progrès, which was a previous, I could say, progressive weekly, which it says a lot about sort of the Haitian people and their general view that we are the largest weekly because our message and editorial line is pretty revolutionary. So this is really the state of mind of people, and so Haiti Liberté becomes sort of the weekly spot that the news is recounted and analyzed. Our editorial is often read on radio stations, etc. So that's the role it plays, and it is, in fact, the newspaper, because a lot of places in Haiti, particularly these days, have no electricity. So newspapers are the way you do when you don't have power.
Right. Well, Kim, last we talked in February, there were some major demonstrations on this same topic where people around the country in Haiti were demanding the resignation of the president there for corruption that had been revealed in several investigations into something called the Petrocaribe Oil Fund that was set up by the nation of Venezuela some years back. But maybe you could summarize that history for us after you tell us about the current situation in the country.
Well, the current situation today is basically just a continuation of that. And essentially what it is I think we may have discussed in February, is, as we've written in Haiti Liberté, the uprising, the revolution, I could say, that's unfolding in Haiti is directly linked to Venezuela's revolution. Back in 2006, at the inauguration of President René Preval, Venezuela signed an accord with Haiti to provide it with cheap oil and cheap credit. The essence of the deal, called Petrocaribe, which was signed with 17 other nations in Latin America, was that even though Haiti had special terms, very favorable terms, was that Haiti would receive all of its oil needs, which amounted to about 20,000 barrels a day, and it only had to pay 60% up front. It could pay the remaining 40% after 25 years at 1% interest. Those oil revenues went into a fund called the Petrocaribe Fund, which was a bank basically to do social projects, roads, hospitals, schools, anything the people needed. And so Venezuela ended up giving, over the course of 2008 to 2018, it took 2 years to get it in place due to Washington's opposition to the plan, which we detailed in Haiti Liberté on the basis of WikiLeaks documents, which WikiLeaks provided us exclusively to review and analyze. And we saw that Washington did everything they could to stop the Petrocaribe deal. But from 2008 to 2018, this money essentially kept the country afloat. Well, in comes Donald Trump, and as we know, he immediately slapped new sanctions and stiffer sanctions on Venezuela and stopped the transfer of money and back to the country, which made it impossible for Haiti to even pay for the gas in oil that it was receiving from Venezuela. So by early 2018, the shipments had pretty much all stopped. And as a result, the Haitian people suddenly found themselves with no gas, no power, and to make matters worse, this Petrocaribe fund had been completely plundered, about 75% of it, by the governments of President Michel Martelly, who was essentially installed by the U.S. State Department, Hillary Clinton in particular, and proceeded to make a lot of bogus projects, which was used to funnel the money to his family and friends, among them Jovenel Moïse, the current president. Well, that all came out in a report that was released, the second version of it. The first was on January 31st, but the second came out on May 31st. That is about 2 weeks ago, and it revealed that Jovenel Moïse himself was part of this cabal, which was bilking the Haitian people and stealing this Petrocaribe money, which the next generation is still going to have to pay off. So people are just incensed. They were out in the street, and they basically have been for the past 10 days or so. The last uprising from February 7th to 17th shut down, or locked down, as the demonstrators say, the country for 10 days. But now, people say they're going to keep going until Jovenel Moïse steps down. He's resisting, but I think the situation is going to reach a point where he may have to go. This is the reason he can resist is because in January of this year, he basically reversed the long-time Haitian government position of supporting Venezuela at the OAS, where the U.S. has been trying to get to the point where the democratic charter can be invoked and a military intervention can happen in Venezuela. So Haiti was basically browbeaten and possibly bribed to change its vote to say that Maduro, on January 10th, they voted that he was not legitimate. Here's a president, Moïse, who was elected by less than 20% of the Haitian electorate, telling a president who was elected by more than 60% of its electorate. So that, in a nutshell, is the situation. We have Washington propping up Moïse for the moment, but he may become a real liability because Haiti's becoming basically ungovernable.
Kim, tell us about the violence on the streets. What's happening there? And I've read in your reports that at least one journalist was killed and maybe more have been attacked. Tell us what's happening there.
Yeah. Well, Pétion Rouspide, who in fact was an early Haiti Liberté journalist, was gunned down on his way home the other day. He had started his own radio with some other colleagues and was very critical of Jovenel Moïse. But I think, and this is pretty much a standard operating procedure in Haiti, as it is in other Latin American countries, where you send out death squads and you scare people. You terrorize them by gunning down some, generally a journalist is a good place to start. I mean, Duvalier did this back 33 years ago as his regime was being challenged. And today's uprising is very much like that 33 years ago against Duvalier. They killed journalists then, and they're killing them now and targeting them now. It's part of this, effort really to try to intimidate people not to come out in the streets. Apparently they've had snipers shooting people. We did a piece here at Haiti Liberté back in March in conjunction with The Intercept on some mercenaries who they brought into the country. Many people feel that, and we have some information to the effect that these mercenaries might have been used in some of these assassinations. Their first mission, as we reported in that piece, was to steal $80 million of these Petrocaribe funds, not those that were of the 40% going to Haiti, but they were in fact money that's Venezuela's money. They were trying to take $80 million that was sitting in the central bank and give it to Jovenel Moïse. So this is the kind of thing that is going on. Death squads, mercenaries, and of course the Haitian police themselves are having to shoot an awful lot of tear gas and do battle with angry crowds. So there is, though, apparently a lot of confusion because there's a number of armed men riding around in jeeps, often with no license plates, who appear to be police, are dressed like police, but people believe, and some people have photographic evidence, are not in fact police. In French, you say la police is the official police, and they call these people le police, which is masculine, meaning it's not really the police. So there's a lot of these sort of fake police going around, that is death squads, going around dressed as police. So the situation is quite chaotic and very deadly for demonstrators and journalists alike.
Kim, when did this latest round of protests begin again after February, and how many people have lost their lives thus far? Do we know?
Well, we don't know the exact figure. They differ. For instance, last week was really the kickoff, we could say, the 15th, which the police said 2 people had died, and the opposition said it was 7. And that was, in fact, the low number. The number of arrested was supposedly put at 12. The opposition said over 100 people were arrested. So we have differing figures. It's often hard to know, Scott, exactly what happened, because sometimes young people disappear. They're gone. And is that because they're in hiding? Is that because they split town to go somewhere else? Or is that because they were killed and their body dumped in a mass grave somewhere? Sometimes we don't know this for weeks and weeks later. But a lot of people will claim and tell our journalists, for instance, that they're sure their son would not leave home without telling them, and that he's dead. So sometimes that's the way the higher figures are arrived at. But the long and short of it is that at this point, it seems that the very minimum 10 or 12 people have died. And these are mostly tallies from the demonstrations in the capital, Port-au-Prince. There are also demonstrations going on in Cap-Haïtien in the north, in Okai in the south, in Jacmel, Hanche, and other cities around the country, and also some points in the countryside. For instance, that figure of 7 that I gave in the Port-au-Prince region from last week included 2 people killed out in La Plaine, which is kind of a more rural region around Port-au-Prince, sort of a suburb, if you will. So, so we don't know the figure, but a lot of people are being shot, and the figure may well be higher than that, but we can say at least 10 or 12.
Beyond the demand that Haitian President Jovenel Moïse resign or be booted out of office, what are some of the popular organizations putting forth in terms of a plan to restructure the Haitian government or to otherwise reform what led to the corruption in the first place? Well,
that's the big problem. That's the $64,000 question, really, is what next? Haiti's history have been basically presidents incurring the wrath of the Haitian people and having to run for their lives, sometimes lose their lives. The problem right now is there is not a clear alternative, and some generally progressive people have even said, well, let's not do anything until we have an alternative. Well, there Basically, to give a sense of the opposition, you have two basic currents. You have one called the Democratic and Popular Sector, led by a very charismatic lawyer called André Michel and his wife. They are somewhat controversial because they were part of the uprising against Aristide in 2004, and so many people don't trust them for that reason. Nonetheless, there are a few people from the Lavalasse party, that is Aristide's party, who do work closely with André Michel. The other principal opposition current is headed by a guy called Moïse Jean Charles, who was at one point considered sort of the heir apparent to Jean-Bertrand Aristide. He was a senator from the north, again very charismatic, but he's been somewhat mercurial in his political alliances, primarily, often allying with very right-wing people who seem to always end up betraying him. So a lot of people have lost faith in him. Meanwhile, there is sort of, I could say, the broader Haitian left has been meeting a great deal, both in Haiti as well as here in New York and in Miami, to really forge a party which would be a serious, what Lenin used to call a fighting organization, something which would have a disciplined cadre, which could, carry out really important political work, because the solution is not going to come through an election, at least in the short term. So this is, I could say, in the birthing process. And so right now everything is a little chaotic because there isn't that alternative in place. There isn't a clear alternative. However, all that being said, this is more or less par for the course in Haitian history. In 1791, when the slaves on the plantations in the north of the French colony of Saint-Domingue rose up, there was not a clear leader. Toussaint Louverture, the person who eventually emerged, came about 3 or 4 years later, after a number of the early leaders had been killed by the French. Same thing in 1986 when Jean-Claude left. There wasn't a clear alternative. The U.S. had their guy, a World Bank economist, Marc Bazin, but the Haitian people ended up rejecting that. And again, it was 4 years later that Jean-Bertrand Aristide emerged. So even if Jovenel does go and we enter a period of sort of provisional governments, etc., I think a leadership will emerge from the Haitian people.
We're speaking with Kim Ives, a journalist and filmmaker. He also serves as an editor with the weekly newspaper Haiti Liberté. And we're talking about the uprising right now in Haiti with the demand that the current president, Jovenel Moïse, resign or be booted out of office on the corruption charges that surround him in terms of the Petro-Caribe oil fund that has been looted. Kim, what are the fingerprints of the United States here in this support for Jovenel Moïse at present? And what, if anything, do we know about Mike Pompeo as Secretary of State and what he said or what he's doing in regards to the uprising in Haiti now?
Well, yeah, I wouldn't call them fingerprints. I would call them great big boot prints, because you see now, since January, when Jovenel finally proved his utility by joining the club of U.S. lackeys voting against Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela, there has just been a constant parade of officials from Washington going down. Every week it's somebody else visiting. And also Jovenel Moïse was invited to Mar-a-Lago to meet with President Trump, which he did back in March. So you have renewed recognition of Jovenel. You have various undersecretaries of state and so forth that Mike Pompeo has dispatched down to Haiti to give words of encouragement and promises of help. The IMF, the International Monetary Fund, which is the U.S. tool, usually in the monetary and economic realm, has pledged $229 million to help Haiti as the Petrocaribe fund has gone away. Of course, all this money has a million strings attached and has been delayed because there's no government. The prime minister of Haiti was basically kicked out by Jovenel's friends back in March, and the new prime minister that he nominated has not been agreed to. So the IMF has said, well, we can't really give you the money until you have a real legal government in place. But it seems there's been a falling out among the thieves. That is, a lot of Jovenel Moïse's friends in the parliament are fighting for influence and bribes and so forth, and there's a very determined opposition from Lavalas and Petit Dessalines and other opposition groups. It's basically 4 senators have held up a lot of this, the progress of getting this guy ratified. So all of that is to say that the U.S. fingerprints are clear by the officials going down and the support being voiced in Washington, by the support being promised by their organizations like the IMF. But at the same time, it's all words, and right now the situation is so critical in the country. No gas, food prices going through the roof, double-digit inflation, double-digit unemployment, et cetera, that it's acting more as gasoline on the fire.
Kim, what about the status of the United Nations force that had been deployed in Haiti in the wake of the 2010 earthquake?
Well, that's a very interesting question because, in fact, the force was deployed back in 2004 after the coup d'etat against Aristide, which is similar to what happened after the 1991 coup d'etat or the 1994 reversal of that coup d'etat. What they do is they always come in with U.S., French, and Canadian troops, U.S., France, and Canada being the principal, I could say, neo-colonial powers that rule Haiti. And then 3 months later, they hand it off to the UN peacekeepers, mostly because they cost half of what a U.S. Marine would cost to pay a Sri Lankan or a Pakistani. So the original force brought in 2004, that was in June 2004, was MINUSTA, and that was phased out 2 years ago. And they put in this sort of intermediary force called, or a wind-down force called the MINUJUST, meaning the UN Mission for Justice in Haiti. Now, this the MINUSTA force, which did spike up after the earthquake, went somewhere between 5,000 and 12,000 troops. The MINUJUST is about 1,800 people, but they've been winding down and are supposed to be out of the country. That is, the military occupation of Haiti, which has been in place since 2004. It was supposed to be there for 6 months. Here we are 15 years later, still talking about it. But the deployment of armed foreigners, presently in the form of policemen and women, is supposed to end in October of this year. Now, the interesting question is, with all of this chaos going on in Haiti and with the situation really spiraling out of control, is the U.S. going to go back with its French and Canadian buddies to the Security Council and say, hey, we need to actually extend the UN mission in Haiti, that is the Chapter 7 mission, which is where essentially the Security Council is ruling the country through armed forces. Do we have to go back to that? So we're watching that closely and wondering, but it hasn't happened yet. But we're ready to hear it. You know, it won't come from the U.S. They'll send somebody else, like, I don't know what lackey country they would send, but somebody else to go propose it, and then they'll try to get it passed. But we're watching it clearly, but they're supposed to all be out on October 15th of this year.
Well, Kim, unfortunately, we're out of time. I'd love to stay in touch with you about informing our listeners about the latest of what's going on in Haiti and the U.S. policy during this crisis. So we'll stay in touch. And do leave our listeners with a website for Haiti Liberté, please.
Well, that's Haiti Liberté. It's basically Haiti and Liberty with not a Y on the end, but an E.com, no hyphen, HaitiLiberté.com. You can read the paper there. There's a sort of a flipping book. You can subscribe on that page to go back in the archive where you can see all the back papers. The only flipping paper available is the one for the current week on the website. But, we encourage people to, support independent progressive media in Haiti, of which I think Haiti Liberté is a proud flagship.
Excellent. Well, we certainly encourage support for independent media around here.
Yeah, I know that, and that's why I'm speaking to your listeners to do their part if possible.
Thank you, Kim, and we'll stay in touch and appreciate you being here tonight. Thank you.
Okay, so long, Scott.
Take care. Bye-bye. That's Kim Ives, an editor with the weekly newspaper Haiti Liberté. That